Okay, so we're looking at elections and the different types of voting methods that could be done and the different types of ways that you can count votes. And so we're gonna first, before we even look at this example that I pulled up here, see if I can get over here and move this down. Let's just kind of go through some of the terminology, and you're probably really good and fine with the terminology. So when you think of candidates, what types of things do you think of? So if you have a candidate and you're talking about voting, what is that? So this is where I want you to chime in and kind of tell me what a candidate is, and I can't even spell it.
Your options.
Your options, okay. So different options. What are those options representing?
Different parties, different ideas.
So ideas, different, you might be voting for a person. So ideas. What else?
Political parties?
I guess we could be political parties. There's a lot of different things we can vote for, right? You might be in a family and you're deciding of where to go to dinner. You might put in a vote there. You might be voting for who's going to be the president of the United States. So that would be candidate. So usually you use candidate for who you're voting for if it's a person, or sometimes you use the word alternatives. Alternatives usually refers to what you're voting for, but usually aren't people. So alternatives are what we vote for that are not people. Are not people. Okay, so what about voters? Some of this I think is just kind of, to me, this is just a little intuitive.
Voters are the people that it's applying to. I'm kind of lost for words. I feel like you know what it means, but it's hard to describe it, I guess. Yeah, the public. There you go.
Yeah.
The people who have the ability to vote or an ability to vote in this election.
Yeah. So not everybody can vote, right? And so it depends on what we're looking at. So if you're voting for a president, you have to be, at least 18, and you also have to have registered. In our case, you have to be a citizen of the United States to vote for the president. So not everybody, can. Do you normally have anything other than people, though, voting? So I don't know who was talking because I couldn't see, but you, to me, explained it very well that, you kind of know, but it's hard to put it in words. And so let me just kind of read the words that they say because they're more eloquent than what I would say. So the voters are the people who get to a say in the outcome of an election. So in most democratic elections, the presumption is that all voters have an equal say, and we will assume this to be the case for this chapter. Okay, so there's times where someone might have more weight on a vote than another person. So maybe you're talking about a company, right? And you have a president or CEO of that company, and they're voting. They're probably going to have a lot more weight than someone who just got a job there and is answering the phones. So sometimes when we're talking about elections, the people that are voting may have equal say, and sometimes they might not have equal say. But again, in this chapter, we're just going to look at it that each person has an equal weight. So the number of voters in an election can change from very small, as few as 3 or 4, to very large, hundreds or millions. In this section, we'll see examples of both. Okay. So voters are people who have a say in an outcome. Okay, so really what we're going to kind of look at today is looking at ballots and different ways that we could read that ballot and see who is the winner of that election. And so we have ballots, right? And ballots, what are those?
Method of voting.
Yes. So ballots, usually a piece of paper, maybe not anymore. Could be a computer, but method of voting.
It's the results of the total results of the election.
So I don't know if the ballot would actually say the total results. Usually the ballot is, you're filling in, your first choice of what you want sometimes, or it could be instead of just first choice, you might have ranking of the candidates. There's different ways that you can do it. So methods of voting, and we have different types of methods of voting. You could just do a preference, meaning your first choice. We could do, actually, preference, meaning a single choice. We could also have preference, but you could be ranking an order of what you want. And then preference, and let's say ranking. But if you had 100 different candidates or 100 different alternatives that you could vote on, and you had to rank those from 1 to 100, that would take a long time and that would kind of get tedious. And so sometimes if you have a huge number of candidates or alternatives, then you might want to do the truncated ranking order. So this is where you might just list out of those hundreds the first top three choice. So this would be my first choice, second choice, third choice. So depending on the method that you're using during this election and how you're going to count the votes depends on maybe the outcome of who the winner is. And so we're going to look at a couple of different ways that we can count the votes looking at things. And so I pulled up an example that says the following, and so maybe we can work through this. And so you're looking right here where there were 12 voters and they were able to vote on 4 candidates. And when those 4 candidates, they put it in the preference that they wanted. First choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice. And so if we look at this, the first thing that we want to do is we want to count how many people voted with this order, A, B, C, and then D. So go through the list. So let's just go through the list. That first one is not A, B, C, D. No, no, no. So I'm looking for an A, B, C, D. Oops, that looks like there's one. Here's another one. And here's another one. So if I look at this, the number of people that voted in the preference, A first, B second, C third, and D fourth, there are 3 of them. So now let's go through and let's look at how many people place their votes on B first, D, C, and A. So B, D, C, A. So B, D, C, A. So this one would be B, D, C, A. Yep. So it looks like there's 2 here. So it's kind of helpful to either like cross them out or like I'm doing with the colors so that I can not have to go back and look at it again when I'm searching. And so now we're looking for CBDA, CBDA, CBDA. And so going through, it looks like that there's, did you guys get, did I miss one? Looks like I only got 3. Okay, so 3. And then the last, so let me just make sure that the remaining is what we wanted, which was the CBAD. CBAD, yep. CBAD, yes, yes, yes. So looking at this, I have 4. If I continue to, I can look and see if I did this right? Because we know how many voters there are. So if we went through and we looked at how many voted this way, plus how many voted this way, plus how many voted this way, etc., this better equal the number of voters that voted. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 3 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So just a kind of a way that you can go back and check that you didn't miss anything or didn't count something more than once. Okay, so looking at this, who would you say would be the winner? So.
Probably C. CBAD, yeah.
CBD. Okay, so in this case, we just want to look at who's the winner. Is it going to be candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, or candidate D?
C.
Okay, so some of you are saying C. I see someone said B. Okay, so on that participant on the bottom, if you believe that C is the winner, put yes. And if you don't believe C is the winner, put no. And so I should get 27 votes. You guys are my voters. So what are we voting on? So technically our candidate is either yes or no, or another way to say is our alternative. You're voting on either yes or no for C. Okay, so some of you are chiming in the other way, which is fine.
Welcome to a lesson on the Borda Count Method of voting. In this lesson,
one of you is watching the video.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Borda Count in a minute. So that is what a method of voting. So right here, it depends. If we want to just look at the preference, if we look at the preference, let's go through and let's look at first preference for number A or candidate A. If you look at candidate A, their first choice, there was 3 of them. They only got 3 choice for first choice. And now let's go through and let's look at candidate B. So if I look at candidate B, they only had 2 votes for first choice. And then if I look at candidate C, well, they got 3 votes here in that order, plus they got the 4 votes here in this order. And so they had a total of 7 votes. And D, well, no one chose D as first choice, and so they have 0. And so if we're looking at this as who, the number of votes who got the most, you're right, it would be C. So we would say C is the winner by preference, being first choice. Okay, well, let's look at, did candidate C get the majority of the votes? So did candidate C get the majority of the votes? Okay, so when we're talking about the majority of the votes, we're talking that they got over 50% of the votes. So majority of the votes, this is when the candidate gets over 50% of the votes. Okay, so let me clear the results. Do you think candidate C, looking at this, got the majority?
Mm-hmm.
And so how many votes would the person would have had to get at least to have the majority in this case?
Right.
Right. So in order to have the majority of the vote, first thing you want to look at is look at half of the number of people that voted. And so if we look at this, we have 12 people voted. So if we look at what is half of that, well, this is actually even, which is 6. So it has to be more than 6 to have a majority. So it would have to be at least 7 votes. So if I look at this and I go back and I look at how many our votes C had, they got 7 votes and they had more than the majority. So they had more than 6. And so we could say then that candidate C does have the majority. So sometimes rewriting your order is helpful. And so that brings us to, I think, this example. So the table shows a conventional preference schedule for an election. And we're going to look at this table and we're going to rewrite the table using an alternative preference schedule. Okay. So basically, all we're doing here is we're going to go and look at the people that voted, the 19 people that voted this following way. And in here, we're going to go and the people that voted this way, what place was A in? So did they get first place, second place, third place, fourth place, or fifth place? Well, in this ballot, 19 of them chose them in fifth place. So go now to candidate B. And so candidate B here, also this candidate, they were ranked as first. Candidate C, so looking at C in this line, they were third. Candidate D, they were fourth. And E was second. Okay, so we can continue down. So looking at the 18 people that voted D first, C second, B third, fourth, and E fifth, we want to just go down and put the ranking of each candidate from this 18 votes. So A was fourth, B was third, C was second, D is first, and E is fifth. So 27 voters, they voted A as fifth. They did B as second, C as first, D as fourth, and E was third. So the 19 that voted the following: A was second, B was fifth, C was fourth, D is fourth. No, wait, D can't be both. D is third, and E is first. And then last one was the people that voted, just 3 of them voted the following way. So C was first, D is second, E was third, B was fourth, A was fifth. So a couple different ways you can kind of look at it and go through and do it. So this can be helpful if we're looking at a different way of counting votes. And so there's what is called the Borda count. And so each ballot you give points, Borda points, for the ranking of the candidate. So each ballot you give Borda points on the ranking of the candidate. Okay, so it depends on how many candidates you have, depends on how many votes the preference is going to get. So if you have N candidates, the first, your first choice is going to equal, you're going to get N points. So the second choice on your list, that candidate, it's going to get 1 less than how many candidates you had. So N minus 1 points. And so you're going to go down until how many candidates you have. So the nth candidate, or your nth choice, they're going to get 1 point. So like the second to last, they're going to get just 2 points. So in our case, we have 5 separate candidates, A, B, C, D, and E. And so for Borda points, the first candidate's going to get 5 points, or first choice. Second choice is going to get 4 points, and so on. So let's go through, because basically we have what position they are and how many people gave us that position by how we just did that. And so if we look at candidate A, so candidate A, there was 19 people that ranked him 5th. Well, 5th place, that is only worth 1 point. And so there's 19 people, but they were 5th place, so in that order, and so they only got 1 point for each 19. Plus, so candidate A, 4th choice, And you know what? I don't know if you want to do this. We can do it this way or we can do it a different way, but okay, let me just do it this way because I started it this way. So candidate A got 4th choice and 18 of them chose candidate A as 4th choice here. And so 4th choice, that's second to last, that's going to be worth 2 points. There's 18 people times the 2 points each. Okay, so here, there's another people ranking A as last, 27 of them. So this is where I could have, in this case, summed all my last ones. Like looking at A, they got last for 19 people, plus this 27 people, plus they're also last here for 3 people. Or, like I just did, there's 27, oops, keep on, that said they were last. So that would be times 1. 19 people said that A was their second choice. So 19, second choice, they get 4 points. And then there's 3 people over here that also said they were last place. So 3 times 1 point for last place. And so we can look at their border count for this candidate A. I'm going to do it below. So 19 times 1 is 19, plus 18 times 2 is 36. We need to do order of operations. Multiplication comes before addition. 27 times 1 is plus 27, plus 19 times 4. So 4 times 9 is 36. Carry my little 3. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3. So that's 76 plus 3. And I'm not using a calculator right now, so I'm just going to kind of do this left to right. So 19 plus 36, that's 55. And how about this? 27 plus 3, just because that makes it easier. That's plus 30, and then plus 76. So this is 85 plus 76, which gives us 161. Okay, and I should have looked out of the chat and saw that you guys got that. Okay, so their ranking is 161 points for candidate A. And so we got to go down and we got to do that for each separate candidate. So let's just do it. So for candidate B, so candidate B, they had first choice only once, and that was 19 people. First choice, remember that 19, they get 5 points for each one of those. And then third choice, there was 18. So third choice would be 5, 4, 3 points. 27 people said that that was their second preference. So 27, that would be worth 4 points. Fifth choice, 19 people.
What?
So 19 times fifth choice is only 1. And then fourth choice, 3 people said fourth choice. So 3 people, fourth choice is only worth 2 points. So you want to go through, multiply, and add the following. And I did that and it took my page away. So 19 times 45, I'm sorry, 19 times 5. 5 times 9 is 45, carry my 4. So we get 95. Plus 3 times 18, well, 3 times 8, that is 24, carry my little 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 54. Plus 27 times 4. 4 times 7 is 28, carry my 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So that's 108. Plus 19 times 1, that one's easy, 19. Plus 3 times 2, that's a lot easier, which is 6. And then if you go through this, I'm just going to think that you got this right. You get 228. Is that what everybody got? Seems like it might be off. So let me just check. So 95, 54, 108, 19, and 6, so that's plus 25. I got 282. You could have dyslexia just like me and switch 2 of your numbers. Okay, we got 3 more candidates that we got to go through this whole process. So let's see if we can pick up a little bit of the pace. So candidate C, I'm going to put candidate C up here so I can read. So candidate C, it looks like there's 2 times that they got first choice. So maybe let's look at the first choice first. So they get 5 for every first choice. And they have a first choice of, how many people? Let's see, 27 plus 3. So there's 30 people all together that gave them first choice. Plus, let's go to second. So second, that means they get 4 points, and there's 18 people that gave them second position. And now looking at third choice, they get 3 points. And there were 3 of them. And then fourth choice, they get 2 points, and there's 19 people there. So this gives us 150 plus 18 times 4 is 72. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 times 19 is 38. So 150 plus 72 plus 9 plus 38. I get 269. Okay, so D. So D, let's put D here. Any first. So they do have first place. So that's 5 points. And first place was right here, and that was 18 people. Second choice, there are 3 people that give them their second preference. And so that is 4 points times 3. Third choice, that's 3 points. And right here, that third choice, there's 19 people. Fourth choice, there's 19 people. Fourth choice, they only get 2 points times 19. So 5 times 18 is 90, plus 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 times 19 is 57, plus 2 times 19 is 38. So 90 plus 12 plus 57 plus 38 is 197. And last but not least, candidate E. So let's look at candidate E. Okay, so first place, looks like there's one group, 19 people that gave them first place, so 5 times 19. Second choice, there's only one group, and that's 19 people, so that's 4 times 19. third choice, there's 3 times different sets that gave preference of third choice. I hope none of those said 5. Because I copied it or went over those numbers. Yeah, actually, this second one, this 18, that's a 5. Looked like a 3 before with the line across it. So the people that have 3 votes or put them in third place, that's a 27 here plus the 3 here. So that's 30 people, and third choice is worth 3 points. And then no one ranked them as 4th place. 5th place though, 18 people, so that's 1 point for 18 people, or 18 votes. So go across, 5 times 19, that was the 95. 4 times 19, 4 times 9 is 36, so that's 76. 3 times 30 is 90. And 1 times 18 is 18. So 95 plus 76 plus 90 plus 18, which is 108, is 279. Okay, so by the Borda count, who would be the winner? Right. So some of you guys are chiming in B. So you want to go and you want to look at how many Borda points each one got. So B got 282, C got 269. 282 is bigger than 269. D got 197. Again, 282 is bigger. A got 161. And E got 279. So B, it looks like just by 3 more points, got it. Let's look at it. Does B actually have the majority of the votes? Okay, so to have majority, they have to have over 50%. So we got to go back and we got to figure out how many people voted. And we need to look at what's half of the number of people voted. Okay, actually, before we do that, let's look at who would have won. Who's the winner by preference? Of first choice. Well, if you look at A, they got no people voted them for first choice. If we look at B, well, first choice here, that's it, 19 people. C, 27 and 3 people, 30 people put them as first choice. And D, that was 18 people, and E is 19. So by preference, first choice, C would have been the winner. Was that a majority though? What's a majority vote? What would have had to been for a candidate to have the majority? What would that be?
They would have had to have more than 43 votes.
And how did you get that?
I just added up all the votes and cut them in half.
Yep. So looking at how many people voted, we know we got 19 voted this particular way, and then 18, and then 27 plus 19 plus 3. And so if you look at this, this is 86 people voted. So if we cut this in half, so 86 divided by 2, and if this is an even, or if this is a whole number, then you have to add 1 to it, which this is a whole number. So plus 1 equals majority. I can't write. So that would have been what, 43 plus 1, so 44. So 44 votes. So none of those had 44 votes. Okay, so maybe we can look at another way of looking at who could be the winner. So we looked at it just by preference, first choice, the person who got the most first choice was the winner. We looked at it by majority, or not majority, a Borda count. And now we're gonna look at it as, what is it called? Pairwise comparison. So pairwise comparison. So this is a method of determining the winner. Okay, so I'm going to go back up, and we're going to look at candidate A, and we're going to put him against candidate B, candidate C, candidate D, and candidate E, each case, and see which one would have been the winner. And so let me come back up here, and let me just grab that table and bring it down if I can. First, let me erase. I don't know if I can. Shoot. I lost the page, so let me see if I go back. Darn it, it's not gonna let me do it. One more try. Actually, I think I might have to do that. One more try. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down each way that people voted, and we're going to compare first A and B. So A versus B. So if we're just looking at who won, A or B, out of these 19 people that ranked it, that would tell me that B had 19 people and they ranked it over A. So 19 for B. Now, if we go over here and we look at these ways that 18 people voted, we want to look at who got more votes, A or B. And so just out of who got more, A or B, notice that B also got more votes here. And 18 people in this way they voted gave B the higher ranking. And so now we're going to look at the way these did, the 27, and looking at who's better, A or B preference. They did B as their preference, and so they have 27 of the votes. 19 here, these people, they actually preferred A over B. And so there are 19 people that gave them that preference. And then here, 3 people gave B over A, so plus 3. So here, A got 19, preferred A over B, but 19 plus 18 plus 27 plus 3. So that's 30, 48, 48 plus 19 is 67. Okay, so I'm going to circle out of this comparison of A and B, B1. And so now we got to do the same thing, A versus C. And so go down each column and see who has a higher preference. So A and C in this 19, well, C has the higher preference than A, and so they get 19. C is higher than A on that second ordering, and so they get 18. 27 prefer C over A. Here, 19 prefer A over C. And 3 prefer C over A. So A got 19 of the votes, where 67 people, again, chose C over A. So C is a winner of that comparison. So we got to do A versus D and A versus A. I'm sorry, A versus E. So A and D, A is last, so D is above, so they get 19. A and D, 18 of them. A and D, 27. A and D, A has 19. A and D, that's 3. So D wins out over A. And then A versus E. So we got 19. A got 18. E gets 27. E gets 19. And E gets 3. So they got 18, one less than before, so I can deduce that that's 66, and E is the winner. So now we got to go back and we got to do this for B. We need to look at B in comparison of all the other candidates. Well, we already did A versus B, so that's the same as B versus A. And so we can narrow it down now to B versus C, B versus D, and B versus E. So B is the winner of C by 19. C is the winner of B by 18. C is the winner of B by 27. Was E 68? You're right, one more. Up here, it didn't change it, but I should have said 68, not 67, one more. Thanks. The 27, let's see. So we're on the 19 and C is the winner. And then B and C, C is the winner. So they got 22 of the votes. I can see that C is going to win versus that. B versus D. B versus D. Okay, so B wins 19. D wins 18. B wins 27. D wins, which is 19. And D wins, which is 3. So that's 46 here. I think that's 40. I did that right. No, I didn't. Yeah. So B is the winner. And then B versus E. So B wins. N versus, okay, so questions. So on B versus C, I'm trying to race now. B versus C, the 3 points should go to C. So let's just go back. You're right, the 3 points should go to C. So that's 19, this is 67. Okay, so B versus C, so that's probably the exact same thing, yeah. Thank you for catching that. And then B versus E, B is the winner, 19 for the first. B is the winner for the second. B is the winner for the third ranking. E is the winner here for 19. And then E is the winner here with 3. So B is the winner on that case. So now we got to rank C with all of the members, but we've already ranked A and C, B and C. And so we need to just do C versus D and C versus E. So C versus D. So we got C, which is first. So they get 19. D wins the second ranking order. C is winning here with 27. D wins with 19. And C wins with 3. So that's 46, which means this is 40 and C wins. C versus E. So E wins with 19. C versus E, they get 18 for E. C gets 27, oops. Sorry, why did I give E? Let me go back. 18 goes to C, which goes over here. 27, I was giving E the points when I shouldn't have. And then 19, E gets that 19. And C gets the 3. So 58 and 38. C versus D. C versus D, 3 should go to C. You're right, 3 should go to C. Okay, I'm just watching the time click by, so I'm starting to pick up the pace, which means I'm probably gonna, I shouldn't do that because I'm just gonna make more errors. So this is 30, and 30 plus 19, that's 49. 18 plus, so that's 37. So only one more we got to look at, and that is D versus E. Okay, so D versus E. E is a winner with 19. D is a winner with 18. E is a winner with 27. E is a winner with 19. And D is a winner with 3. And so E is the winner. Okay, so a couple more comments, excuse me. So 64. You got B versus E. Just by adding these up, thank you for counting that, 64. Okay, so after you compare every candidate with each other candidate and you saw who won over the preference, now let's go count how many times did A win a preference versus another candidate. And they never won any, and so they get 0. So B, though, out of the comparison, they won, so 1, 2, 3 times. C, they won 1, 2, 3, 4 times. D, they won once. And E, so 1, 2, twice. And so the winner by the pairwise comparison would be C. Just curious if that's what we got before, which I don't think that was who won before. So by the Borda count, we got B. By the pairwise comparison, candidate C won. And then up here, first choice was C, was the preference. Okay, so depending on how you look at it and how you read your ballots and how you decide who the winner is, you could get different outcomes. And so pretty much when you're having a voting system, you want it to be fair, right? And so there's some certain criterions that should be met in order for it to be a fair vote. So first of them, and one of them is the majority criterion. Okay. So what this says is if candidate X has the majority of first place votes, then that candidate should be the winner. Then we have what is called the Condorcet Criterion. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So C-O-N-D-O-R-C-E-T, Condorcet Criterion. And so what this tells me is if candidate X is preferred, so they're preferred by the voters over each other candidate, in a head-to-head comparison. Then that candidate X should be the winner of the election. Then candidate X should win the election. Let me see, any other criterion. One other criterion, which is the Monotonocity Criterion. So Monotonocity Criterion. Okay, so if candidate X is a winner of an election, and in re-election, the only changes in the ballots are changes that favor X and only X, then X still should remain the winner. So I just wanted to read that through and now let's just write it out. So if candidate X is a winner of an election, and in a re-election, the candidate X, the only changes made in the ballot are changes that favor X. So that favor candidate X. Then X should remain the winner. Okay, so let me just kind of look at where we are and how kind of far we got in this chapter. Okay, so I kind of jumped around in the different methods. We've pretty much covered the first 3 sections of the textbook. And so let me just kind of read through. We looked at the basic elements of an election and the different terminology, the plurality method, and border count. We actually did pairwise comparison, but that's chapter 5 or section 5. So for homework, you have 1.1 through 1.3 due on Monday. Stop the recording.